Hi there, everybody. I am Matt with K15T, and welcome to our live stream where we are going to look at how you can fully automate your team's processes using Confluence, Jira, Trello, and Loom. We're also going to have a little bit of time to look at some of the new enhancements to Confluence that we saw at Team 25 Europe. So some really cool Rovo stuff, some really cool creation stuff. I'm super excited about this day. Before we jump into things, just a couple of things that some of you know and some of you may not. First of all, we have Mixmaster Stefan in the chat. So he is here to help answer questions that you may have, share resources, all of that. So he is here. Nice to see you, Dustin. Hey, Lively Apps. Hey, Hari. Hey, Arlene. Nice to have you in the live chat. Yeah, it's live in case you didn't know. So jump into that chat with your thoughts, your questions. And if you do have a question, if you would just write #question before you ask your question, that helps us call out the questions for everybody in the chat. And then also, Stefan will pass it on to me so that we can answer those questions. And by we, I don't just mean me. Thank God. We have live with us Avi from Atlassian. Avi, so nice to have you join us here on the live stream again. Nice to see you.
Always good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Avi, I feel like you've been the product lead for so many parts of Confluence now. Are you a principal product manager? What is your title?
Yeah, the title is Principal Product Manager.
Principal Product Manager. All right. Of all things, Confluence editor at the moment. Is that right?
Correct. I'm right now on the editor team.
All right. So we'll be talking about some editor stuff, but one of the things that I really just love about Avi is he's just so thoughtful about things. And actually at Team 25 in Europe, I was talking with other folks on the Confluence team about this because we all just think he's just so thoughtful and none of us deserve him and all of that. So one of the things that Avi has done is become sort of a champion within Atlassian and outside of it around how we can use AI and automation to actually improve the way our teams work. And we talk about these things a lot. Dustin said he did get to meet you in real life, Avi, and he agrees with my statements. So thank you for that validation, Dustin. One of the things that we talk about a lot at conferences and, in K15T's content about Confluence and Atlassian's content, we're always talking about how can you use AI and workflows to do the things that you would rather not, so you can focus on the things that you're really good at, automating your processes. And that used to mean for many of us, bringing in consultants, building, having to work for months, figuring out requirements, drawing up diagrams and all sorts of documents on, what needs to happen, what is the business logic, And then they kind of go off and they build this automation that's completely disconnected from everything that we do. And then it's unchangeable afterward, right? And there's no intelligence in it. And Avi has been a huge champion within Atlassian and outside of it around, we have the tools now that we can build these things. We don't need to be engineers. We don't need to hire a consulting group. We do need a little bit of time, but we can build these things with the tools we have in our hands right now. So we're going to look at how Avi automated one of the big processes that's important for his job as a product manager. And what I want to encourage everybody to do is try to focus on the processes you have at work. Because while this is sort of domain specific to product management, what we're doing here is something that, you probably have processes that your team and you personally run through all the time, that these same principles would apply. Because when it comes to building workflows and stuff, kind of the sky's the limit. So this is an example, and we're going to try to pull out those nuggets of we're going to do this for this case, but you could do this, and this. So we're going to try to show it's flexible, but also here's a good framework for thinking about these things. So one other thing before we jump into it, I would encourage you, if you would please hit that like button in YouTube. That tells the algorithm that things are happening, which is great because things are. Also, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed, we do monthly webinars. We are producing short videos and long videos all the time, cranking that up a lot recently. Also, Stefan's going to drop into the chat a link to subscribe to our weekly Confluence newsletter. We're about to hit 100 issues of that glorious, glorious newsletter that Patricia writes every week, all about the very best things of Confluence. So please subscribe so you can learn along with us. Without further ado, Avi, what are we looking at together here? What are we going to automate today?
So we're going to automate, and thank you for like all the context. It covers a lot of the why behind this whole thing. And I think what you said is spot on, where this is a very specific use case, especially coming from me as a product manager. So it's really originating from three places. One is just getting in by being at Team 25 in Anaheim in April, seeing the announcement of Teamwork Collection, and then saying there are a lot of really cool pieces to put together, but it's also a lot to try and think of the customer. So that's one. The second one is, as a product manager, it's how do I scale my time? And one of the biggest things that we do as product managers, or not just product managers, but especially is you want to know your customer. You need to know your customer, understand what their needs are, problems, what's working, what's not working. And then there was a bit of like a third kind of rule of thumb that came together from both of those, which is definitely I have a bit of an unfair advantage because I was on the team that was building automation for Confluence. So there's like familiarity there. And started to see all these pieces come together and then saying, what if I tried, and I got a lot of help from engineering manager on automation, DJ, who's amazing. And we were like, what if we could build and automate this entire thing only using the stuff that we're selling? And that was the rule of thumb. We do use like one third-party software, which is Calendly, which I'll show you. But other than that, like the idea was only use Atlassian tools, but also how do we use all of them? So how do we intentionally involve Jira, Confluence, Loom, like all the key pieces of a Teamwork Collection, plus Rovo, which is basically like a layer on top of everything, and AI. So that's the broader context. And what we're looking at here, and what I'll run you through, is basically how with one quick Loom configuration and two automation rules. One is very short in Jira, the other one is this one in Confluence. How I have completely automated my entire customer feedback flow from the moment the customer leaves feedback in the product, and it goes into, we have like a Jira project that collects all that feedback. And most Atlassian teams do, by the way, like hundreds of feedback collectors. To reaching out to the customer, to getting a call scheduled, to summarizing it, to sharing that summary out with the team in the right place, with the right information, and the right people, and even sending the customer a thank you email after the call. All that happens automatically. All I have to do, literally, is show up just like I am today. And the only difference is on this call, I'm doing most of the talking. On those calls, I show up and I listen for the most part. I'll ask a couple of questions, but that's all I have to do. I don't have to think about scheduling. I don't have to send emails. I don't have to take notes. I don't have to send out the follow-up summary. All of that is completely automated with these like one Loom configuration and two quick automation rules that I'm going to show you. And it's really cool because it's going to bring everything together. And to your point, would really encourage folks, one, you can completely copy and paste this. All of this information is on community, in the public Loom video, the prompts, everything. And the second piece is, I would definitely encourage you to think of this as a framework, like you said, for if you have a process where there's some sort of input that you need to then move along a process and then get your team involved, it's the same thing. It's the same building blocks. You just want to create like a different picture from the puzzle, so to speak.
Yeah. Just throwing into the chat right now, a little poll. Just curious if anybody in the live chat has created an automation so far in Confluence or Jira. We'll throw it out there. You can also do some pretty sick stuff with automations and Loom now that just dropped a few weeks ago. So if y'all want to answer, that would be great. Also, if you're new, hit that like button, please. Tell YouTube things are happening. That would be helpful for us. And also if you haven't been here, if you're just joining, because a lot of you just did, Avi, we're looking at automating a whole process with our Atlassian tools, where Avi is going from, literally just a completely person-centered process where very simple start, very simple ending, but getting so many insights. He's involved where he should be. We're going to look at that now. So we're looking at a framework for how you actually do this magical thing that we've been hearing about. Here it is happening. So where do we start with this? Show us what's step one here, Avi.
Yep. I'll show you step one. And before I go to step one, I'm just going to tell you that the end result, just from a quantitative perspective, is I went from reactively getting maybe 2 customer calls a month at best, to getting 2 to 3 customer calls a day. So over the course of a quarter, I've been able to get more than 200 customer calls. So we start from Loom, and we're going to show you how each product and teamwork collection gets involved. So here you can see all my recordings, but in Loom, there is a meetings tab. And this is a really simple setting where you can auto record your meetings. And what this does is it'll integrate with Zoom or however you record your meetings. And you'll see it'll basically start, I have it recording all of them. You can choose only internal or manually selecting. And what you'll see is it already has like a meeting notes page ready. And it has other people recording as well. And you can see basically what it does is, I'm going to try and find like a quick page.
You're obviously recording a lot of meetings here, which I really love seeing.
I record, all my meetings, and it's super helpful for then using AI agents to figure out like your action items and everything. That's a whole other story. But basically, it auto records the session, and then it joins as a Loom note taker in the Zoom call. That's the TLDR of it. And what it does is it creates a Confluence page, and it basically starts with who are the attendees. The page is empty. And when the meeting is over, the Loom note taker basically ends with the meeting, and then it populates that live doc with the meeting notes that are AI generated, with even timestamps of what's happening within the video itself. So that's the first part. Super duper useful. Everybody at Atlassian uses it for all their meetings, and it's just really useful for a lot of things.
Yeah, Dustin just referred to you as a recording machine. By the way, 80% of people on the stream right now have automated something, Avi. So we are in good company. So you're taking it to the next level here. And we're going for the 20%, but we want to blow the minds of the 80% as well.
Hopefully. Okay. So and this is the one thing you called out, which is relevant. And I want to start with step one. For those of you who have never seen automation in Confluence or in Jira, you basically go to your project, go to your project settings, and then you click on automation. And in Confluence, you go to your space, and you see your little picture, click on automation, and then you're in automation for Confluence. So now that we have the Loom note taker up and live, that's just happening in the background. You don't have to do anything there. The first thing we're going to do is, as somebody leaves feedback in the product, like I said, it goes into a Jira project. Specifically, this goes into a project around editor controls feedback. I can show you what that looks like from a customer's perspective. So if I click here, and I click on give feedback, and I click on editor, and I leave some kind of feedback and write something, this is going to go into a Jira feedback project. I can see, and the team can see, every single feedback from customers.
Yeah, just a quick pause here. For anybody who uses an Atlassian product, these buttons are all over the place, and you can we're going to see how, but your thoughts on Atlassian products do not go into a void. In this case, it goes through an incredible automation and then to Avi directly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this one and many others come to myself and other teams and people. Like whiteboards goes to the famous Emily, who's been on your live streams multiple times.
Incredibly famous, yeah.
Yes, and phenomenal. And so what you'll see here is what this rule does, which is really simple. It was first of all saying, how can I just automate the outreach and making sure that customers feel seen and heard, right? So the idea behind automation isn't just to save me time. And we keep on saying this, it's not to replace, it's to amplify the human touch. So it's things that I want to do, but I can't necessarily get to. And every single customer that gets this email and has gone on a call says, I was just so pleasantly surprised that a human being actually reached out, and not let alone like a person from the company, a product manager. Like normally
Yeah.
any other company, you will not hear from a product manager or get to them. So what this rule does is something very simple. It's basically saying the trigger is when a work item is created, that means somebody created feedback from the site that I just showed you. It goes into this Jira project as a ticket. So once that happens, we will use this wonderful thing that's called smart values, which are basically dynamic variables, and they're contextual based on the rule that you're creating.
I was gonna say, show
like,
us, because looking at that, it looks really scary to me because I'm seeing, I don't know, those curly things. So for those of you who are like, oh no, Avi's telling me to code, look at this picker thingy that he's looking at right now. You can just say, I want an important thing that's gonna come from the tool that I'm using. That's what a smart value is.
Exactly. So I don't need to know, every single email, so it gets picked up automatically, and there's a lot of smart values, which is really cool. They're basically dynamic variables, and you don't have to know them or understand how they're structured. So like I said, wherever you see this, you can click on available smart values. This list will actually be contextual based on what is actually going to function properly in the context of your role. So in this example, reporter, I can look here, I can search, and then I can actually see the reporter display name. But what I wanted to do was I took like the issue reporter email address, which is basically the same as the reporter email address. So dynamically, once somebody sends in feedback, I want you to email the person who left the feedback. And then make sure that the subject line comes across as genuine, because it's for me. So I want them to know clearly it's about their Confluence feedback. I want them to know it's me. So there's a human being. I work at Atlassian. I want to make sure that they know that their feedback is appreciated and seen. And we also use these as examples to kind of showcase the things that we're working on, by the way. So it's kind of like not just taking, but also helping people become design partners. It's like a thing you can play around with. But you'll notice that in here, what I do is I add a link to my Calendly. You can use Calendly, you can use Google, you can use Clockwise, whichever service you want. But the point is, customers can schedule when they want, and it's based on my schedule preferences.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this is the first rule. And the other thing that this rule does in parallel, which is just for me, is it sends me a Slack message every time I send an email. And basically telling myself, hey, I just emailed the customer. It gives me the link to the feedback and the description. That way, when I jump on the call, I actually know what the customer is talking about, and I don't jump in like, oh, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, I love that. And I love that you have in this message. So again, we can see smart links being used here. You can see it has the URL for the it says issue for the work item.
Yeah.
And then also it has the description. So without even having to click in, I'll be seeing the description of, what did this person say? So as it hits your Slack, right, you're going to be able to be like, oh, okay, I can see what this is about without even having to click anywhere and do anything. And by the way, I was gonna mention, I love that you've put so much thought into the subject of your email. Subjects of emails are very hard to write. Ask any person who does marketing who's trying to get attention in the inbox. If you for your team are like, I want to create something like this, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to make a good subject or a good email. Maybe I'm working in a language that's not my primary language or whatever, you can use Rovo for that. You can jump into Rovo chat and say, hey, here's what I want to communicate. Here's what's really valuable here. Help, give me some suggestions on some email subjects that I would use. I think I use Rovo for that sort of thing all the time because it's really helpful at kind of refining language and getting it just right there.
Yeah, that's a great call out. And to your point, Rovo's always here across all products, no matter where you are. You can chat with it, and like you said, you can just put in a prompt, you can give it context as like files or things to be aware of, and it'll really help you refine and even give you like options for things that you should use for your subject.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Really
I do
cool.
the same thing.
Really quick, we had a question from Noreen wondering, can we control who can create automations? And specifically, can you even exclude Atlassian admins from editing them? I believe it's space admins who, or I believe there is a permission that you define in roles when you're setting up your roles to say
Yep.
who can create and edit automations. I don't believe you
Yeah.
can bar admins from editing them, though.
So generally speaking, any space admin can create a space level automation. That doesn't mean that you can create a site level automation or global automation. That'll be a product admin.
Right.
But generally, product admins can completely disable automation for everybody. There is a setting like that at the global level. And for your own rules, you can actually decide if you want your rules to be public, private, things like that. So there's like a whole trickling up and down of permissions that you can use to maintain control of your rules so nobody messes around.
Yeah. Also, Avi, Arlene is loving the new smart value the menu there,
Nice.
which was not present in automation for a while. It is a game changer. When I first read about smart values, I was like, "Oh, cool!" But before that menu existed, I was like, "I don't know how to do these. I'm not that. Yeah." So yeah, it is very nice.
I felt the same joining the team. It's like, how am I supposed to remember like everything in these curly mustache brackets? And then the team did an amazing job on not only creating this, but like making it genuinely contextual. So it's not just going to give you a flat list. It's going to be based on the context and dynamic.
It's so nice.
Cool. And yeah, you can see other things that I've added here. It's like this email will appear from this name. I want to make it personal.
Oh,
I
really?
chose to make sure that people know that they can respond to me. So again, like I leaned into making it as open as possible and also leaning into one of Atlassian's core values, which is open company, no bullshit. So like bringing that into this approach as well. Cool. So this is rule number 1. So remember, we have that Loom note taker already live. Then we have this rule, which is basically picking up on feedback and sending up outreaches to customers. One, making them feel heard and seen and giving them an opportunity to actually schedule time with myself. And I get the context. The second rule, and this is where like the entirety of like the cool stuff happens. This is a rule that I just set up in my personal space in Confluence. And by the way, for those of you who didn't know, everybody is an admin of their personal space. And yes, everybody has a personal space. Those are two things a lot of people don't know. So if you ever need a playground to do stuff at the space level in automation, use your personal space.
And how would I get to my personal space?
Great question. So if you go to anywhere in Confluence, open the left nav, spaces, basically just type in your name, and that will take you to your personal space. And to get to automation, basically just go here, and you will basically see all your roles. Oh, I got an error now, of course.
I feel that. So I'm feeling that right now with some jet lag. Dustin pointed out that was a very personal question, Avi, that I asked you how to get to your personal space. I did not mean to offend. Just in general, how would one get to their personal space? Thank you, Dustin. This is a safe place. This is a safe space for everyone. Thank you for keeping it that way.
Yes. Alrighty. Oh, let me just load this again. We may be having a little bit of trouble here. Live demos.
Live demos are really, really fun in this way. While you're working on live demo fun stuff, I wanted to point out someone in the comments earlier wondered if we were giving out like certifications for attending this class. We are not. This is not an official certification class, but I would love to know if anyone has any thoughts. We are thinking a lot of thoughts about how we could improve everybody's experience with K15T and all of the great content we create between our newsletter, our videos, our live content, our shorts, our written articles. There's so much much there. If anybody has any thoughts on like, I would really love to get, I don't know, like an animated GIF I can put in social to say I just learned about this thing, or a link, or I want hip bags or stickers. Like, I don't know if there are things that in mind, like a digital thing or a physical thing where you're like, I really want this thing to show that I learned this thing on a live stream, or other ways you want to engage with us. Feel free to drop that in the chat, because we're trying to bring things together in a really cool way. So we would love to hear those thoughts from you. Yeah, Arlene's on the sticker train. I mean, I also am. I don't know if y'all have seen these. We bring these to conferences. We have an entire sticker pack, just like a pack full of stickers, including the legendary unicorn, which is like super. So, yeah, let us know. There's a lot for us to think about. Obviously, distributing physical goods is not as easy as I want it to be, because yeah. So if you think of any fun digital things you've received in the past or whatever, let me know. Throw it in the chat or hit us up in the comments or whatever. Thank you for the unicorn there, Dustin. I really like that.
I'm going to give this one more try.
All right, Abby is dancing with automation right now. As it goes, it typically
technical issue.
Yeah, product features like they feel shy on live streams sometimes.
But luckily, this is on community. So let me just do one more try to refresh. If it doesn't work, I'll show the community post.
Okay. Yes. Excellent.
We do the same, by the way.
We have a recording of all of these things working.
Yeah. So basically, this is what I'll walk you through. So I'll walk you through the rule, and now I'm going to walk you through the second rule. Cool. So it's all there. So essentially, what the rule has is, as we said, the auto email gets sent out to the customer, and then call gets scheduled, and then I jump onto the call with the customer. The Loom note taker actually joins and creates that draft page 5 minutes ahead of the meeting. So it's all ready and waiting. And then call happens, customer and myself talk. No note taking, just talking, listening, learning, and getting feedback.
Right. And to add to that, there will be an enhancement coming to Loom that in the future, as those notes are created automatically by Loom, you could throw a note or two in there if you wanted into that Confluence page, right? Correct. From your desktop. So
exactly,
that's coming, which I'm very excited about.
Yes. They're going to be like integrating the editor, and you'll be able to like add your notes. It'll be super cool. So the rule here is basically listening for that Loom page that's being created. So it gets created as a live doc. So the trigger is basically saying when a live doc is created, but that's super broad. So then what I did was I added in 2 conditions to narrow it down. One is the Loom note taker actually auto creates a folder in your page tree. And it actually will create very smartly different folders for different types of meetings. So for these types of meetings, the folder name is actually going to be AI-powered meeting notes. And then all of these auto recorded pages are actually going to get added as child pages to that folder. If you have, let's say, a recurring one-on-one with a colleague, that's actually going to get added into a different folder that will be like recurring one-on-ones. So it kind of knows how to create a good structure for you in your page tree.
I love that so much.
So the first condition is going to make sure, let's make sure that this live doc isn't just any live doc, because we create a lot of live docs in Confluence, but it's actually part of the Loom note taker's structure. The second thing is, as you noticed, I have meetings that aren't just for customers. Most of my meetings that are recorded are internal. I don't want to send out summaries of that to everybody in a certain Slack group. So what I do here is I have a naming convention that comes from Calendly, which basically sends customer's name and Avinoam Zelenko, my name. So I make sure that the content title contains Avinoam Zelenko. And once again, you'll see that use of these smart values here. So here it's going to look in the content parent title. Here it's going to look in the content title. And this way, these 2 conditions make sure that this is created by the Loom note taker and it's an actual customer meeting. So that's 2 really important pieces.
So you can see here, Abhi has, just based on, how he consistently names things, just using a little bit of like really simple logic. This isn't like AI powered anything at the moment. It's just literally looking at the names of pages and things and just comparing them, which is just in case anyone's like, oh my God, there's an if statement here. Is this programming? Again, no, it's not. It's just using some of those little, the double mustaches there, but these are still just those same smart values. Just saying like, what would your brain be doing? This automation is doing that work without you having to use your brain, which I love.
Exactly.
All right, what's happening next?
And then the next piece of the rule is these pages intentionally get created as restricted. So they actually get created as private, so to speak. So only you can see them, or the people in the meeting. That's on purpose. And because I actually want to share these meeting notes with anybody, I add an action to unrestrict the page as soon as it gets created, because I want it to be open by default. Now, these 3 delays are important because in the beginning of the meeting, the Loom note taker creates a blank page. At the end of the meeting, it populates it based off of the actual transcript. So if this rule doesn't have these delays and you tell it to automatically summarize something, it's going to be looking at a blank page before the meeting is over.
Yeah.
So what delays allow you to do is tell the automation, kind of like Sparta, right? Like, hold, wait, not yet. And you can add and you can add up to 4 delays of a cumulative of 60 minutes total. So my customer meetings are 30 minutes each. I put a 45-minute delay just because sometimes, calls go a little bit over. This way, I know that I'm going to catch the page with all of the auto summary that Loom adds to it. So then I can add the next piece of the automation, which I'm going to show you.
Would you mind zooming in your editor here, Avi, just so we can see these pictures a little bit better?
Yeah, for sure.
That would be super helpful. And also, Arlene had not a silly question, I think a really great question. Arlene, why do we see 3 15-minute delays and not 1 45-minute delay in this UI here?
That's a great question. For technical reasons, each delay individually has a max of 15. Cumulatively, you can have up to 60 minutes. So
Okay.
That's why I'm using the max per delay, but not the overall max across.
Got it.
It actually says that when you add a delay and you try to add an amount of time, if you try to add like 75 minutes, it's going to tell you the maximum for each delay 15 and total 60.
Got it. So it's just sort of how automation is implemented in that way with delays.
Correct.
So that's why they're different pieces. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
If I could do one, I would do one.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's that part. And now we get into the really interesting part of this rule.
It hasn't been interesting so far. No, it really gets exciting now. This is my favorite part.
So this is where we basically bring in the Rovo agents. And this is where you actually start integrating Rovo/AI with automation. And you'll notice that till now, we've been using Loom, we've been using Jira, we've been using Confluence all together, right, across the entire team collection. And Rovo comes in as part of the automation to basically help me scale the whole concept of sharing this with the team. So it's really great that the Loom note taker creates a page with meeting notes, but that's still just my page. That needs to get sent out somehow, and that also takes time. And sometimes I want to add, specific summary, not just what the Loom note taker did. And I want to share it to a Slack channel. So how do I do that without spending more time?
Right.
So there is an agent, and generally, for those of you who aren't familiar, in Rovo, there's a concept of agents. And what you can do is you can copy agents, you can create agents. They can do a lot of different things. And in this case, I'll show you an example. You can chat with an agent, but what you can do with agents is you can also embed them inside of automation. So I have like an agent that knows how to take feedback and create PRDs from them. Now, if you view the agent just as an example, you can actually see it has like some conversation starters. it has a default scenario. So as you create the agent, you give it instructions on what to do. So I told this agent it's a product strategist, etc., and give it a very specific set of instructions on what to do and where to take information from. And you can add a lot of information to each agent. And then, like I said, you can actually include them in your automation flows. So this is a transcript.
So it's sort of like,
reporter.
it's like being able to bring a specialist into your workflow. So as if you had someone who's like specializes in insights on your team, who would normally, take your transcript and your meeting notes and say, okay, Abe, here are the insights that I pull out of this. You're bringing this in with an agent. So completely AI powered insight specialist, essentially. That's what this agent is doing here.
Exactly. And it's basically doing what I've told it to do, what I would have done in the way I would like to do it, so that I don't have to do it.
Oh, I love that.
So a couple of cool things here. One is you create the agent, and like I said, you can use it in Rovo. You can chat with your agent and ask it questions. You can add skills to agents. So you can tell it to do all these cool things, like it knows how to create pages, and it knows how to put this in Slack, send in Slack. Like, it's a whole thing. But the really cool thing here is you can embed them within a very clear automation process, which is very deterministic, and give it a very clear playground where it can play in. So you know that it's going to work in a specific way and it won't go outside those boundaries.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to use AI, but then they're like, I'm not really sure where it's going to put the output, what it's going to look like. And like, it's a little too fuzzy. So this really puts a lot of guardrails around it. And this agent specifically is called a transcripts insights reporter. And in this community post, there's actually like the full prompt of how the agent was created. There's the full prompt that I use in the automation role. You can completely copy it and use it for yourselves. Yep. And there's an underlying prompt that explains this agent how to behave. But then what you do is, as you add it into the automation role and you say, hey, I want to wake up this agent once this meeting is over. And this agent, then in automation, you give it very specific instructions. So then telling it things like, provided the meeting data, I want you to generate a concise recap for the meeting. And I give it a structure. I tell it needs to optimize for Slack's link syntax, markdown. I also want this to look good, so when the team reads it, that it doesn't look like a bunch of weird things. Like, it should be presentable and like really interesting and compelling to read. Mm-hmm. So there's an entire output here, and I can share my screen in Slack in a second, show you what it looks like. Or actually, there's a screenshot here. And then what this will do is it's going to create all that. And this is where smart values come back again as the star of the show. Any outputs that Rovo agent creates, there's an agent response smart value. And then if I want to send this in Slack to a specific channel, all I have to do is add an action to say send this to Slack and paste that agent response smart value. And that will dynamically pull everything that the agent is doing, and then it's going to just look beautiful in Slack. And that I love this. Basically how the entire thing gets automated. This doesn't include how I send the thank you email, which is a bit of a very on top, but like.
And before we jump off from this, the one thing I wanted to say for anyone here who's like, oh, but God, like Avi's obviously a genius and he wrote this perfect prompt, and how, like, that's where I'm stuck, is how would I write this prompt to make this agent do a thing? So I'm with you there, because I'm also not a genius as far as I know. That'd be cool to find out. But if you want to build a prompt, you can actually use Rovo to assist with that. So if you jump into Rovo chat and say, hey, I want to build an agent, I'm looking to create a prompt, would you guide me through the process of creating a prompt? The nice things about these AI assistants is they're very good. Like, how when you know how you want someone to work with you and you can just say, this is what I need to know, right? You can work with Rovo to create that prompt and be guided in that process. So you don't have to, you don't have to be some sort of AI prompt engineer. AI will show you how, and Avi is showing this right here. So with Rovo, you can actually learn to build a great prompt. So fear not, don't panic. The tool can help you use the tool, which is great. And again, grab what Avi has in the community article so that you can, get a leg up. But this is how you get started with it.
Yeah. And I'm just kind of, as you're talking, I'm kind of showing like the way that the Rovo agent creation experience works is it acknowledges the fact that creating a good prompt is actually quite involved. So it starts it from a conversational perspective. And you can see that as you're writing, it's going to guide you in a conversational way to like give you some follow-up questions, which are best practices for how to create a good prompt for AI. And it'll start populating here. And then it'll start giving you conversation starters. And without noticing, you'll actually end up with a very well-crafted prompt. And like you said, if you ever need to, outside of here, you can always go to Rovo chat, like you said, and just ask and say, hey, I'm building this Rovo agent. Like, I need a fantastic, very specific prompt. And it has no problem doing that.
I love that so much. All right, I just want to throw that in there for all of y'all, but let's see this delicious email that's being sent at the end of this process to people who are already impressed that they heard back from a real person, even though they heard back from an automation created by a real person, which is really, really lovely.
Yep. So yeah, still can get that automation work to work, but what you can see is a couple things. So this is actually, so what we created an Atlassian, again, because we believe in being open and we want to get everybody closer to customers. So this is just an example of like me testing with the engineering manager that helped me build this, DJ. We created a channel at Atlassian called Get Closer to Customers. And we basically said, hey, this channel is open for everybody. I'm posting all my customer notes in here. If anybody else in the company, not just product managers, wants to use this process to automatically post their customer conversations, you can use this channel too. So then it becomes like an open channel for anybody in the company to see any conversation anybody's having with the customer. And what happens is, a customer will talk with me about the editor. They end up talking about Rovo and Jira and everything possible and data center migrations, and I learn a lot, and then I need to pass it over to other teams. So it really becomes a way to help everybody get closer to customers so that it's not just me talking to customers and then the knowledge just remains with me. The idea is to live up to that promise of what Atlassian and Confluence know how to do really well, which is, sounds corny, but break down these whole silos of information. So this is what the follow-up looks like. It actually comes out very robust with very specific information. This is just a quick conversation between me and DJ for like 2 minutes. But you'll see the structure is what's really important. So it gets sent by an automation for Confluence app. It includes the name of the meeting. It automatically includes a link to the Loom recording. If for any reason there was an issue with the Loom recording, there's also logic built into the prompt to fall back to send you to the page the Loom note taker created, so you're never kind of left empty-handed.
Cool.
It will give you the summary, and of course, you'll have the Loom recording to go to, and then everybody's brought into the discussion. And the way that these summaries are generated is they have a summary, they have action items, and they're meant to be very specific and catered to what Atlassians care about. So you can make that, tailored to what your team cares about more or less. So it gives kind of like your tone of how you would explain something. And
which I love because this isn't just an automation for automation's sake. It's not just dumping information into a Slack channel because people are like, I have enough of those. It's literally like, here are the insights. This agent is adding the insights that Avi would point out and share with his peers. And so what they get is just like every post, though it's created by an automation using an AI agent or a Rovo agent, it is it's delivering value directly to people in Slack to get their jobs done. So I just think it's so cool and helpful and useful.
And it's cool because it generates a lot of great conversations, and then I get to learn about people that I didn't even know that work on certain projects, and then I'll kind of say, hey, I think you should look at this. It helps us pick up on bugs. It helps people understand what customers are thinking. And the other piece is two more things. One is the thing that for some reason I can't show you. I don't know if there's a bug. But the thing that we've also done here is there's a little nifty thing you can do, which I actually included in the Loom that I shared publicly, is you can actually kind of pull that email into the comments of the page. And then we created a Rovo agent called the email extractor. So it knows how to take that email and then it sends an email automatically to the person you just had a conversation with, just as a very nice follow-up is, hey, it was great talking with you today. Thank you. The fact that it's automated doesn't mean that it's not genuine. But it's, again, it's to save time instead of me sending 200 thank you emails every time over and over again. If the things that I can automate, it's great. It doesn't take away from the fact that you care about your customers. Again, it's not about replacing. It's about amplifying. It's about making sure that you can bring the best parts of yourself to the process as opposed to doing stuff that otherwise like could just be done when you're not.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love this. There was a question. Thoughts on would it be possible to also summarize the actions and put them into time tracking in Jira? Can you
You
do
can
that
definitely
with
summarize the
automation?
actions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because you're using Rovo, essentially, you can create an agent too. Rovo
Hmm.
is like a nonlinear way of thinking, right? It's almost like I love the fact that somebody asked that question because it's like you don't need to limit your imagination of what you can do. It's like, oh, maybe I can do this. An example was when we were a team, somebody came over from a partner from Korea, and she's like, can I do this in Korean for my Loom recordings? And I was like, well, let's try. We did it and it worked. And it was like the Korean translator summarizer, and it worked great. So yes, you can. It's definitely within Rovo agent capabilities to integrate with automation. And yeah, because it's part of Jira, you can send things back to Jira. Like other things we could do with this flow, which we're not doing yet, is like at the end of this process, we could take this entire thing and automatically create Jira tickets with the summary and put them in the right epics for engineering to work on based on certain criteria. We could send it into our JPD boards as a new idea. Like it's not like A, B, C. You can expand it. You can add as many actions as you want to. So like you could send a Slack message. You could send an email. You could send something to Jira. Maybe create a JSM asset or anything you can think of really across not just Atlassian because there's also third-party integrations, webhooks. So want to send this into AWS, you want to create a webhook and send it anywhere on the internet, like you can do that.
This is really exciting. I'm also thinking of at Team, there was some talk about skills for Rovo agents. So that being like the ability to invoke a certain skill. So an example skill would be like, hey, send this thing using Gmail as me. Do you know, like, when can we expect Rovo's skills to be like GA and ready for the world?
Great question. I think it's coming really soon. I'm not sure about the exact timing, but I'll
Okay.
show you an example. So this is an agent that I built internally to play around with experiment ideas because every company runs experiments. And the idea behind this agent is, let's view the agent profile. The idea behind this agent was instead of thinking of experiment ideas, what if I could have a robo agent that is an experiment opportunity scout? And there's a very specific definition for it. Its job is to scour Confluence, Slack channels. I gave it some examples and actually find opportunities based on very specific criteria in the way we define experiments, rank them, and even
Mm-hmm.
structure them in a way that the team can review. And then it sends like a weekly digest to the team in a Slack channel saying, I scoured all these Slack channels and these are all the things that I could find. Now, you could put this in an automation, but you see that I added skills. So this agent knows how to send Slack messages and it knows how to read Slack messages. So
Yeah,
instead of
so
just using
cool.
it in automation, I could go to Rovo, I could choose my agent, and it's got these like quick discussion things. But I could literally ask it just what new experiment ideas have been discussed in Slack this week. It'll read Slack messages, and then if I like them, I can actually tell it send to Slack from Rovo, and it'll just say like which channel do you want to send it to, and then it'll send it out. And that's just the
Ah,
beginning of it because this is just Slack, but generally speaking, like if I edit the agent, you'll see that there's a lot more things that I can do with skills. Skills. Where do I go to edit it? Default scenario. Here.
if you can't tell, Avi likes to tinker as he flies through these UIs. Okay, here is the full like skill library here, which is pretty awesome to see.
So obviously, like all the Atlassian core stuff, like all stuff you could do in Jira. So these are skills that an agent can perform. And again, that could be through chat, that could be through an automation, that could be through a workflow. These could be done kind of like independently. This could be done based on like human involvement. But you bring in that, so you don't have to then say, cool, I got an insight. Now I got to go take an action. I want to create a label. I want to create a folder. I want to create a database. Like it can do the next best action for you. And then you've got cool things like connection to GitHub, GitLab, Google, HubSpot, Microsoft, other things, Slack, like, and it's just coming more and more. And then these agents start to become very interconnected with not just the Atlassian stack, but your entire stack.
Yeah. So much to do with skills. I'm very excited about them. We will be doing a stream about skills as we get closer to them because there's just so much that can be done already. Avi, we're almost out of time. We have like 3 or 4 minutes. Did you want to show us anything that y'all have been working on in the editor?
Yes, absolutely. So two things, and these are related, because as you're thinking about how do you upskill and like amplify the human side of your work and what you're really, really good at, and take away the busy work. We've just introduced a team Europe, two really big things that are coming soon to customers. One is create with Rovo, which is basically the biggest thing. So you can actually, instead of saying, okay, let's start with a live doc, let's start with a page or a whiteboard, you're not always sure, is just let Rovo do the work for you. So you'll click here and it's just like, what do you need to create? Not how, not where. So let's say I want to create product requirements. I've got all these templates ready to go with great prompts and even more ideas I could use. So I don't start from a blank slate. I could play around with this. I could add files. I could link to internal and external pages as context. I could use speech. But let's say I want to create product requirements, right? And then I'll fill in things. But just to kind of show you, what this is going to do is it's going to open this preview area. Rovo is going to start to create beautiful and actually really useful content because it's using the entire teamwork graph. So it's all the information across all of Atlassian products. And it's making it super native to Atlassian. So instead of like using another AI tool and it looks different and you have to play with formatting, everything here really looks based on like best practices in Atlassian. So you can see it's like crafting my page for me right now. And you can see it's actually Rovo in the cursor. And it's going to create this page. And Rovo actually opens up on the side explaining what it's doing. And there's always a preview. And the cool thing is this is what we call like a staging or a preview. So as this gets created, you're going to have access to the editor. So you can make edits here and do anything you want. You can look at different changes, redo, undo, fix spelling, you can change the tone, you can adjust the length, you can add polish, etc. And you can see like it's not just fluff, it's going to go really deep on things
Yeah.
based on best practices. And once it's done creating, I'm just going to give it a sec to finish up.
Yeah, it is going so in depth right now. I love this.
And I'll just kind of show you a critical part. Once it's done, the open questions should be close to the end. And of course, it's giving me like a template here. Not a template, but like a placeholder because I didn't give it more context. But otherwise, it would have given me, if I give it context, it will populate exactly what I need.
Right.
So it's done. It's given me even like a title. And you can see I can make changes with the editor. I can use Rovo inline to then improve things. So this is fully functioning editor, and I can even like unpin and then use a new inline toolbar that we've built, which is a lot more streamlined, which I'll show you. And then when you're ready to go from like this preview state, then you can click Add to Confluence, choose where you want it to be, create as a live doc or as a page. And really cool, you can even say like, I'm not ready to share this yet. Let's make it private.
Restrict it.
Yeah. And then when I click add, only then it's like bombarding and trashing up my left nav. Now it's going to actually get created in the right place. And I can always see the page that it created, and I can continue to chat with it. And like I said, we've got, as part of that, an AI first completely streamlined pinned toolbar. So you can see there's a lot of optimizations here for UI and like getting the things faster, like making sure that things are kind of grouped in the right way. You can see text highlighting and things will be like a lot more stateful. This is being cleaned up. And then we also have the pin toolbar. If you want to have like a completely clean experience, you can use a contextual toolbar to do things like inline streaming. You can use quick actions, you can use improved writing, and this has been streamlined as well. So everything is a lot more kind of condensed in there, ready for you to use. You can still record a Loom and create a Jira work item. You can always pin the toolbar back to the top, back down. And like I said, if I want to go to Rovo and tell it, make this more compelling, you can kind of see how that's going to work. So it's going to analyze, and then it's just going to do that really quickly in line. And you can see that it's actually both going to give you the logic, plus it's going to do like some inline streaming to improve it. So this is a huge change. And the cool thing is, when I created this, because it's a PRD, it understood to create a page. Depending on the context you want it to create, it will actually propose the right content type. So if the best tool for the job is a database, it'll create a database. If you're talking about brainstorming, it's probably going to create a whiteboard, and you can convert from one to the other. But the idea is, don't think about where or the thing you're going to create. Just focus on what is the information that you need to get out there, and just start with Rovo and a prompt and any information, and it'll just do that for you. And then everything carries through to the toolbar to make sure that that experience is seamless across the way.
I love this so much. I'm so excited to see it. God, I want to do more streams when this is ready to go, and show some cool some cool things. And I want to just sit there and dictate to it and just see what it comes up with. Avi, thank you so much for joining us and showing us how we can think about our processes. Like, everything that you showed us is literally probably something we're doing manually right now. And the fact that we can build that in workflows, and then for those spots in our processes where in the past it's required just brain work, just human brain work, how we can use a Rovo agent or Rovo agents to do that same brain work in the same way that we would do it, completely automatically. And even one of the really cool parts of this whole process is you're actually hearing from humans being like, oh my God, I can't believe you responded to me. And oh my God, you have a summary of like observations from our conversation. This is really crazy. So even though you've automated something, you've actually brought tighter connections with your customers in this process. So thank you so much for sharing so much learning here. This has been really phenomenal. Thanks for joining on the live stream today.
Thank you so much for having me, as always. Pleasure.
Such a pleasure. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. If you haven't yet, hit that link in the chat to subscribe to our Confluence newsletter. We are talking about new things in Confluence, old things in Confluence, best practices in Confluence, our opinion about Confluence every single week. Patricia is cranking that out. So please subscribe because it just keeps getting better and better. Also, continue to follow along our YouTube channel as we continue to explore how to use Confluence to share what you do best. Bye, everybody.